Today's card is Good Deeds, and it reads, Make your partner breakfast in bed. Well, this is a cool one because although this isn't something I have gotten around to doing, at least I can say that this is something that I could get around to doing because in the past I had never lived with a boyfriend before. And in recent times, it's been exactly a month now, today actually, since my boyfriend moved in. And it's one of those things that because this is a new experience for both of us, it's like I don't want to be too intrusive. I don't want to overwhelm anybody in the same manner that I wouldn't want anybody to overwhelm me. I more prefer to give some space and let things kind of happen naturally. And this is an idea that I have had, but I just wonder what would be the most practical aspect of it. I, for instance, am not too wild about eating in a room. Like, you would never catch me eating here in this room, which this is my actual room, but I prefer to sleep downstairs. It's a temperature thing. It gets colder downstairs, obviously. Now, I have always had that policy of not eating in my room because it's just a little bit of a disaster. You have food crumbs falling on your bed and by extension into the room, and I feel like if there's a place that's going to be prone to getting dirtied up with food residue, it should be the kitchen or the dining room. That's natural, but to spread that over other rooms, it just doesn't feel like the right thing. But going back to this topic, I do have an idea of what he could eat. He seems to be very open with food. He's not as limited in choice as I am, because, for instance, tomatoes. We tried grapes and grape tomatoes. He was munching on them and he mixed both of them. So he took a bite in which he had one grape, he had one grape tomato, and he had them both at the same time. And he was like, This combination is. Then I was like, I think I can do the grape. I'm sure I can do the grape. And then I said, Well, at least let me try it. I know I don't like tomatoes. Who's to say that I cannot have them in this manner? Because tomatoes and if I'm going to mess with tomato, they're more survivable if I put something like basil on it with cheese and herby it up a little bit with, not seasoning, but more like herby spices. But no, I had this plain grape tomato, which when you bite down on it, of course, because it's a grape tomato, it exploded in your mouth, and then that tomato flavor just exploded in my mouth, melted and spilled everywhere. And as soon as that taste hit me, thankfully the trash can was right next to me. I had to lean over that mug and I just completely rejected that. Tomatoes and olives are the two things that gross me out so much that as soon as I A, touch them, and B, feel that juice and weird ass flavor they got, I just reject them. It was just horrible. And I felt bad because I happened to have deliberately picked the biggest grape that I saw in the bag at the time. And I said, well, if I use a big grape, this could help mitigate the taste of the tomato. But oh no, if anything, the grape flavor actually somehow strengthened the tomato flavor. But I think it's just my mind. It's just the trauma of the tomato flavor experience. I forgot to mention that I can do roasted tomatoes. I actually like them quite a lot. Roasted and sun dried. I can mess with those. Hitting me right now, but that shit was horrible. But yeah, my boyfriend, everything that I have made in the past, he seems to really like, especially things like ground beef and salmon and things like that. So I'm sure I could get around to making this. I don't think it will happen necessarily in bed, but I could consider having breakfast ready for him one morning. But with him, it's a little bit tricky because we seem to be similar in that regard. We are somewhat breakfast skippers, meaning that we don't eat as soon as we wake up and stuff. We like to fast and we won't eat anything until closer to 10 a.m., something like that. So it's one of those things that if I do intend to do that, I would have to time it just right. But there are certain days in which he has to be out by, for instance, 9 to 9:30 a.m. It would be still a little early, and we tend to have some nights in which we eat a little late. So to compensate for it, that's why we have to fast in the morning for the most part. But yeah, this is something that I had every intention to do. I just haven't picked up on when would be the best time to do this, but it's certainly something that was going to happen anyway. And when it happens, I guess I could tell you guys what I ended up making and how it went. So there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if this is something that you do, something that you would like someone to do for you, or if you prefer to have full control over your diet, because I think that this is important too. You could end up being paired up with someone who has habits that do not really align with you and your needs, dietary preferences. And my boyfriend and I, we seem to be pretty similar on what we're doing anyway. It all tends to be protein rich, but I tend to be the one who does kind of bad with the carbs and sweets. But there are days in which, in one sitting, he can certainly beat me. But overall, we prefer to have a cleaner diet. He has a diet much more clean than mine. Like he religiously has his vegetables daily. I seem to do a thing of salad maybe 2 to 3 times a week, but last week I don't remember getting around to it. Beginning, I want to say it was late winter. That's when I started buying those salads from Walmart that I was telling you guys about that I swear by. But sometimes that gets old for me and I have to give myself a little bit of a break. But prior to that, what I used to do was I used to put spinach on everything, spinach on egg, spinach on pasta, spinach on ground beef, spinach on vegetables. Like, say, I already had a salad. Well, that salad, I'm going to add more spinach to it. But it seems like I'm just having a different season with food now. We're different, but at least in the taste department, we're pretty similar. It seems to be that everything ever that I go for, he likes, and I don't have a recollection of him trying something that he was like, oh. And this is at restaurants too. Usually, whatever I pick and I let him try, he says that it was a really good choice. He is a little bit broader with his taste, so there's some stuff that he can mess with that I just absolutely would not consider. And he can do better with fish than I can. He can go to places and order fish sandwiches and have a good experience with it. I am very particular about fish. I never have fish in sandwiches. And if I ever have fish, it religiously has to be salmon, or there is no choice, no chance for me. And the fish that I eat, salmon, it better be hot. Don't give me any of that smoked cold bullshit. I want it grilled or legit smoked, but it's sizzling at the very least to mess with it. Okay, that's it. Bye.